Welcome back to another episode of Trash Talk. I'm Jon-Bernard. This is Nick. We are the K-Roos brothers bringing you the fight news around the world. Today we're coming to you live from Las Vegas on the Strip. It's International Fight Week here. We're here very early, pumped for a massive week.
Is it on the billboard? Yeah, look, right behind us. Ilia Charles, right in the middle of Las Vegas.
UFC 317.
When people say this is the fight capital of the world, it's because they put on events like International Fight Week and Canelo. I think Canelo Crawford's going to be here later in the year.
Yeah.
So, this is the place to be for a big fight. And the big fight this weekend is Ilia versus Charles, and I'm pumped for it.
Everyone's pumped. You can kind of feel a buzz here. Everyone you meet on the Strip is saying they're here for the UFC. It's going to be exciting. They've got the Fan Expo. They've got the Hall of Fame ceremony. They got Canelo Crawford doing a press conference here as well. It's pretty huge. It's all happening through the UFC and Dana.
But the big thing that came out this week was Jon Jones has officially retired from the UFC. Dana White held a press conference. He said Jon Jones called him last night and he said, look, that's it. I'm done. I'm retiring from the UFC. Tom Aspinall's the undisputed heavyweight champ.
It wasn't even a press conference, Nick. He just did it at the end of UFC Baku.
Oh, was that? I thought it was
right.
Yeah.
So it was
that was like a presser.
You'd think when a big announcement as Jon Jones retiring, the current undisputed heavyweight champion retiring, you'd think it would be a big announcement. You know, they would make a big song and dance, but it just, hey, back end of UFC Baku, a fight night. Hey, he's retired, and you know what? Tom Aspinall's a champ. No big ceremony for Tom Aspinall here in Las Vegas and International Fight Week. I don't know, he just goes on his YouTube channel and says, yep, I'm the current champion. I'm going to be defending.
What would you want? Would you want Jon Jones to come to Fight Week, maybe lay down the belt in the ring, and then put his gloves in the ring?
You'd think they would do something grand.
It's not WWE. It's not
right now, Anthony Smith got a better retirement than Jon Jones, if we're being honest. But look, you cannot deny that it has been an illustrious career for Jon Jones. He's achieved it all. Even Khabib, Anderson Silva, the likes of those. Khabib said, you have nothing to worry about. You had, not that we ever saw eye to eye, not that we're ever best friends, but congratulations on a great career.
Yeah, Anderson Silva said he's the best to ever do it in the cage. Khabib's definitely come out and said, like his father, he's the best fighter ever. So in the UFC history, are they wrong? He's the GOAT? For me, he is.
I definitely think he's the GOAT. To do it across two divisions, youngest champion in the UFC at the time when he won it. Yeah, I think it's undeniable that he's the GOAT. And I actually do think that there's more to the story. I don't think it's a retirement, so to speak.
Well, you think, this report that came out of Albuquerque, some woman was drunk in passenger seat and said Jon Jones was the driver. You don't think that's true? Apparently there's charges coming out against him.
Dana White said that it never even came across his mind.
Because he never saw it. He said, I didn't see it till today.
No, look, this is what I think it is. I don't think he wanted to face Tom. I think he wants to see more of Tom in the octagon before he makes a decision. And like any retirement in combat sports, like boxing, Tyson Fury, how many times has he retired? How many times has Floyd Mayweather retired? But they always come back. Yeah, but I do think Jon Jones is going to see Tom Aspinall fight, and he's going to come back if he wins. If Tom Aspinall loses, he's going to say to every UFC fan, I told you so.
Yeah, you told yourself. You told everyone so, whatever. But you also didn't make the $30 million. That's what my problem is. It's like you put the price tag out there.
Apparently the offer was on the table.
No, but apparently they agreed to it.
Yeah.
Apparently Jon Jones had agreed to it. He put the price tag out there. He said, I want $30 million to fight Tom Aspinall. He said this right after fighting Stipe. He could have very easily retired after UFC New York last year. But no, he said, look, I want to do it. I want to get paid. If they meet me at $30 million, I'll do it. They met him at $30 million, and then he pulled out. So I don't know, maybe there is more to the story. Maybe he hasn't been training. Maybe he hasn't felt that good. But the fact that he got to $30 million and then pulled out, it's just you're teasing.
Say no to that,
you're teasing the UFC.
Yeah, that's crazy. Turning down $30 million for your legacy, I got to respect it. But it is undeniable. He is the GOAT of the UFC. But now the question is, who's the next opponent for Tom Aspinall? He went on his YouTube and he said, I want to be the most active heavyweight champion. He wants to get straight into it. I think he said UFC Abu Dhabi might be where he wants to start his first undisputed title reign. But the thing is, who should it be? Who should be the next heavyweight opponent?
Well, the fact that they were trying to set up Aspinall versus Cyril Gane as an interim title fight, I feel like that just means they're going to do that.
And there has been a bit of story there too. There has been, Cyril Gane's been ducking him. He wanted to go do a movie. He said no to him before. So there's a bit of a story there. And look, the heavyweight division isn't the deepest right now. Volkov did lose to Cyril Gane in that last fight that they had. Tai Tuivasa is nowhere to be seen. There's other guys, like I think on the weekend, the Dagestani guy lost in a split decision to Curtis Blades. Yeah. So there are fighters that really aren't making a name for themselves. Volkov could kind of put his name in the ring, especially after that Gane win, which I think he got robbed, you know what I mean?
So, but still, there's just not a lot of talent there. So I think Cyril Gane makes the most sense, probably still the most athletic guy besides Tom Aspinall in the heavyweight division. But if Tom runs through him, There's not a lot there because Aspinall's already beat Volkov, and like Aspinall really, there's not much for him to really do. Like he can't go up, but I'm saying there's not really much there for him in the heavyweight division. They need Francis Ngannou to come back.
A name that has been thrown out is Francis Ngannou, but Dana White has pretty much shot it down and says there's no interest in Francis. Once you do the UFC like that, I don't think they want him back. They don't want to extend the olive branch out.
Hey, has he not seen Vince McMahon? Every person comes
Another
back.
name that comes to mind is Alex Pereira. Coming off a loss in light heavyweight. That's what happened when he lost at middleweight. He went straight up.
Yeah, but that's because it was a disgusting weight cut for him. So, like, this was more natural weight for him to
He
fight.
took that loss to Izzy, went up, then won a championship. Now he's taking this loss at light heavyweight. Why not go up and set up a super fight against Tom Aspinall?
But he also, his first fight at light heavyweight wasn't for the title. It was just against a light heavyweight fighter, Jan Blachowicz.
True, but I think he's got enough resume now to command and enough
enough
UFC star power to get a championship title shot, especially in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, but you got to look. He's going to leapfrog Cyril Gane and Volkov, people who have won fights in the heavyweight division. Pereira hasn't done anything in the heavyweight division.
Regardless, Dana White has come out and said he's excited for the Tom Aspinall era. He actually did say that he just feels sorry for Tom, that he made him wait and waste the prime of his career.
Yeah, but again, like I don't think it's Dana or Hunter's fault. Like they did the best that they could. They were going off the information that John was giving them. They organised the fight. They said they had it agreed to. So like you're not going to make Cyril Gane face Tom Aspinall when you know Jon Jones is happening later in the year. So like I don't blame Dana at all. People that are shitting on Dana, they've got it wrong.
Well, when you really think about it, Tom Aspinall now has the chance to be one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. If he maintains this run and form that he's in as a heavyweight champion, he could be one of the most dominant heavyweight champions we've ever seen.
That's what sucks, though. So, like, does his defense against Curtis Blades count as a title defense?
I have no idea.
I've got to look into that.
As an interim, I think it should.
I feel like it should get upgraded to a title defense because if he's already got one, then if he wins another one, like he's... The most heavyweight title defenses in UFC history, I think, is 3, which is Stipe Miocic. So, like, it's not that hard to get or, like, not that high of a number to achieve. And if he's already got one, I could very easily see him break that. And then, you know, you got Cain Velasquez most days as heavyweight champion. That's the big one that I think Tom will want to go for. And judging how the heavyweight division is, unless there's another big name that comes up, he looks like he's going to dominate for a while. So he could be one of the best heavyweights ever.
Now, I read this stat. This is the first time in UFC history since 2004 that they're without an American championship in any division. There is no American champion in any division. Jon Jones was the last one. I don't know who is going to be the next American champion. I mean, Sugar Sean was probably the most recent at bantamweight.
Is Merab an American citizen?
No, look, he claims Georgia, and he was just in Georgia with Nina Drama.
He's got the half Georgian, half American
He loves Las Vegas. He's on the lookout for a wife, so maybe he'll find one here. But no, who is the next American champion? Bo Nickel really got fraud checked, if we're being honest. Sugar Sean cannot beat Merab in that division. I think he may have to go up. There's no American really standout in the featherweight apart from Funkmaster. Aljamain Sterling. So, and Sean Strickland was a champion, but I don't think he's going to get back into title contention anytime soon.
Bilal Muhammad was an American champion from Chicago.
Yeah, you're not holding it right now.
Kamaru Usman is an American fighting out of Denver, so
he's calling for a title shot.
And he's someone that could push back into the title.
And the other American that is calling for a title shot in the lightweight division is Justin Gaethje. But again, I don't think he can beat. I don't think he can win a championship at this age, at this time in his career.
That's just like Usman, Bilal, Justin Gaethje. They're all the ones that are ranked fighters that are likely to maybe get a title shot. I don't see them winning. So like there might be a bigger drought.
I'm telling you, we could go another 2 years with no American champion.
Who's in the light heavyweight? Maybe not. Carlos Ulberg's the next one. Yuri Prohaska, like they're not American.
Yeah, we're in an era of the UFC where it is not Americanized anymore. It's very much a worldwide sport.
Hey,
Dagestani, Brazil, Georgian, Australian champions.
I'm going to pivot here to the NBA because they haven't had an American MVP since like 2018, 2017.
Shit.
So are we in an era now where Americans...
Well, I mean, sure, it's Canadian.
Doesn't matter.
That's like...
It's not American.
That's like an Audi version of America. That kind of counts.
He didn't grow up in America, though. So, like, people say, like, you grew up in the streets of America, you're different, you're built different.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a lie. Are American shit athletes now? Are Americans, do they suck? Because NBA and UFC, they're not at the top anymore. They're not at the pinnacle.
And the Europeans are taking over the NBA. Look at
Luka, Nikola Jokic.
Exactly right. So...
Now we've got Aspinall, we've got JDM.
Yeah, but maybe their talents,
Islam,
their talents are being used elsewhere, particularly the NFL, particularly sports like baseball. So where there's a lot more money to be made. So I don't know. I just don't know who the next American champ is going to be. Maybe it's someone that's coming through the ranks right now. it just doesn't look like we're going to see many American fighters at the top of the sport in the next 2 years.
It's tough because, like, I'm going through the rankings of every... Yair Rodriguez, Diego Lopez, they're like the top ones in the featherweight. Pantoja, you got his versus Kai of France. He already beat Asakura. Brandon Royval, maybe, or Moreno. We got what's the one above that? Mosvar Evelev again, Russian.
Featherweight, no. I'm telling you, and heavyweight, maybe you find a big heavyweight, but
lightweight, I mean, Dan Hooker, Arman Sarukian, but they're not even in the top 5. Like, they're struggling.
Yeah. This is going to be a tough time for American fighters.
Middleweight, I reckon Khamzat's going to just maul everyone in that division as well, so he'll have a long title reign as well, so it's tough to know.
But it is International Fight Week. It's Ilia versus Charles Oliveira, but what's taken the spotlight up is this feud between Ilia and Islam Makhachev. This is the fight that everyone wanted to see, and it's not happening this week. We're getting Charles Oliveira, but it doesn't stop these two from going at it online. And you've seen in interviews, Ilia has gone at Islam, saying he's a pussy, saying that he ran away.
He said he's boring.
Yeah, saying he's a boring fighter.
No one even in Dagestan wants to watch him.
Saying, he puts even the people of Dagestan to sleep. So it is definitely heating up. I don't think Islam has gone at Ilia as much as Ilia has gone at Islam. But I think his teammates, like, Umar has come to his defense and saying that, he'll win and go back down. Or Khabib said, no, Ilia needed to prove himself and win first before facing Islam. So I just think this is just going to make their eventual rivalry even bigger and their fight even bigger.
Look, Ilia did come out today in his defense on Ariel Helwani's show and did say, look, I don't think he's ducking me. He's just going for his destiny, his dream of having 2 belts. Eventually, maybe the fight will happen down the line. Ilia said he's happy to go up to 170 and fight. That's crazy Islam there.
Imagine Ilia just speed running all the way up to welterweight to become a 3-division champ.
Well, everyone was saying Pereira was going to do that. Ilia is a viable opportunity because if Islam does win and then maybe has a title defense there, that's a fight to make.
Mate, surely he's a bit too small for welterweight. Like, there are some big boys coming from literally featherweight to welterweight. He says the reason he can do it, he's trained with welterweights before and he believes he can knock anyone out. An analogy he gave, which I thought was hilarious, is when you're in a street fight and I've got to defend my missus in a street fight, I'm not saying what do they weigh and what are they coming in at and what are they cutting weight to. I'm just going in to knock someone out. So he doesn't mind. He thinks he has the ability to knock anyone out in the UFC. You got to admire the confidence. But I think welterweight is a bit too much. I think if a fight with Islam has to happen, it's got to happen at lightweight.
I do see Ilia as the ultimate professional as well, though. I see him as someone that knows his trash talking, knows maybe where to draw the line. Unlike, some people who try and maybe go at people personally, whatever it is. I feel like he knows what he's doing with Islam. He's just building a potential fight. He knows it's strictly business. And I think Islam knows that's what he's doing as well. I think the less promotion Islam has to do, I think he appreciates. So if they do have a fight down the line, it's just building the road to it.
Yeah, Ilia's making it a lot easier for Dana. But coming into the fight with Charles Oliveira, he is $1.20. He is a very short price favorite.
Very, very short price.
Ilia, it's not even worth getting on, and I want to back it. But are people sleeping on Charles Oliveira?
Well, you got to think he's a former lightweight champion, Charles Oliveira. Most finishers in lightweight history. He's not a bum. He's not a bum at all.
I also want to say, he promised his son that he was going to be champion, became champion. He now has a 7-month-old daughter. He said he promised her he's going to be champion. So he's coming in with a lot to prove to his young ones.
I just think as a matchup, it's not the best matchup for Charles Oliveira because he can neutralize his BJJ, Ilia can, and Charles is susceptible to getting caught. Always has a fight, where there's versus
He comes forward as well. He does come forward.
Islam, Justin Gaethje, he always cops a shot that he probably shouldn't. And if Ilia does catch you, it's usually lights out. So that's why I think it's a bad matchup. But if we're being realistic...
Ilia's very confident. He says, look, Charles, he's got 10 losses on his record already, and he's just going to be another one to me. He's coming in saying he's going to get a first-round KO. Ultra confident. Like you said, he's the ultimate professional. If he wins, who does Ilia face next? Who does it make sense to face next? Everyone's saying Arman Sarukian because he's the backup fighter, but Ilia has been going at Paddy Pimblett non-stop, and he says he wants it to be Paddy Pimblett next.
Well, because he knows that'll sell. I feel like he's operating in a business mindset where it's like, I don't think he believes Paddy Pimblett deserves a title shot, maybe above Arman or Justin Gaethje. But
he says, listen, if he proves himself against Gaethje, which is a very winnable fight for Paddy Pimblett, Paddy versus Ilia does make a lot of sense.
I've been seeing the edits on TikTok all week of just them having to go at each other. Yeah. And I feel like some people...
Sanitizer.
People back Paddy's shit talk there, but I was like, listen, man, that was Ilia when he couldn't speak English. Ilia can speak much better English now. True. If they were to get into a verbal altercation, I do think Ilia would win because he's got the backing of his resume already now as a champion. Paddy Pimblett, kind of, who's he beaten? Old fighters. He's beaten Tony Ferguson. He beat
Bobby Green.
Like, he hasn't done much. Michael Chandler, another old guy. So, like, Ilia's got the much better resume. And if they do go the fight, they know it will sell. I just don't think it'll happen that soon. I feel like either Ilia will verse Arman or Justin Gaethje will have to face Paddy Pimblett, and then Paddy's got to get through that, which will be a tough one. But I think it will happen.
Yeah.
Who do you think wins that fight?
I'm taking Ilia Topuria. Again, everyone. I guess the answers will be seen come this Saturday or this Sunday in Australia, because
See how he
goes at lightweight, and if he holds his own, and he comes forward and has that punching power still, I think he probably beats Paddy as well, and his wrestling will probably be a bit better than Paddy's as well.
That's why I think everyone's like, if you listen to Ilia Topuria speak, he's
so confident in his BJJ and wrestling ability.
He's so confident, and the way he says, I'm the next generation of MMA fighters, I'm the complete fighter.
Yeah.
Like, why would you doubt it? Like, literally everything that he's said thus far, he has proven, and it's kind of accomplished. So why would you think that he's lying now? It's not overconfidence, it's just telling the truth.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask you this. Did the UFC drop the ball on what could have been the biggest year in UFC history? When you had the likes of a super fight ready to be made, Ilia versus Islam, and then a super heavyweight fight to be made that was taking over social media, Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones. Both those fights could now never happen, if they may not ever happen.
Well,
the UFC drop the ball?
If you go back to maybe February or March, when Ilia Topuria vacated his title, if you're in that mindset and you're looking at the rest of the year, you're thinking this is going to be the biggest UFC year ever. You got Ilia versus Islam, which could probably happen at International Fight Week.
Crazy money to be made.
We've got Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. That's still yet to happen. That's going to happen later this year, maybe at International Fight Week as well. There were rumors going on.
That's what we were saying.
There were rumors going on. If you could watch our old podcasts, if you watch our old episodes, we're like, okay, this is the potential fight. This is the fight that should happen here. And now we're here in June, and neither of those fights are happening. Both Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones is off, and Ilia and Islam may never happen because, yes, they may happen down the line because they might come out of retirement, or Ilia and Islam, it may line up. But if either of those fighters lose, there goes the fight, and there goes the hype for the fight as well, because they're coming off a loss.
Look what happened to Alex Pereira. I feel like after the Ankalaev loss, the hype train has slowed, and he's still a face of the UFC, or one of the faces. But you can feel the hype has died down until he really gets into the octagon again, and he has earned a well-earned rest. Don't get me wrong.
The only fighter that I think truly
maintains,
didn't have that big of a drop off after a loss was Conor McGregor, because he lost to Nate Diaz. It was on short notice,
and then he redeemed it immediately.
And redeemed it within 3-4 months. So that's the only time I feel like, even though he lost, his star power still grew. Usually though, when a fighter does lose, especially when they do talk shit, say like Ilia Topuria or Islam, you do drop off a lot. So it'll be tough if they ever do lose and they kind of ruin that kind of fight. But yeah, I think it's hard to say the UFC dropped the ball because it's kind of out of their hands. Like, Islam wanted to go up. He made it known he wanted to go up very early. Jon Jones, you don't even want to talk about it because who knows what's going on in that bloke's life. Like, it's hard to say the UFC dropped the ball. They tried to do it, but it just didn't work out. And if Belal won, really it's Belal's fault.
All this may have to be blamed on Belal. And I hate to say that. I know everyone already hates him online, but if Belal had won, this could be a completely different year.
Ilia Islam. This is Ilia Islam.
Completely different timeline. We would have been waiting for Ilia Islam this weekend.
But I'm happy with Ilia Charles. I think that's a great fight.
I want to pay respect to Jon Jones, calling retirement on his career with the top 5 Jon Jones moments of his career, starting with number 5, winning the heavyweight champion with ease against Cyril Gane, really just walking through him in the first round after a 3-year layoff. I think this solidified him as the greatest of all time. You know, jumping up in weight, showing it how easily he could get it done against a formidable opponent like Cyril Gane. Showed that I think he's one of the greatest of all time, and again, why he's the GOAT.
Going into that fight, people forget, I think he was the outsider. People thought Cyril Gane was going to be too big, too athletic, too strong for Jon Jones, and this just proved the one rule in the UFC is never bet against Jon Jones, because he went in there and made easy work of Cyril Gane and proved why he's the GOAT of the UFC.
Number 4 is coming back in the fight against Alexander Gustafsson. This was probably the greatest light heavyweight fight of all time. It was an absolute war, and I think it showed that Jon Jones could be pushed to the brink. It wasn't just a dominating performance. It wasn't a surgical, clinical performance from Jon Jones. He took a lot of punishment and showed that he could go into the deeper championship rounds and show the caliber of fighter that he was.
Yeah, if you go back to the call, Joe Rogan on that fight was saying this is the fight that Jon Jones wanted. This is the first time that he's been truly tested in his career. And if you watch the fight, people say Gustafsson won? I don't think so. Jon Jones did have a great fight, did cop a lot of damage in that fight, but coming back in that fight and rounding out 3s, 4, and 5 showed why he's one of the best fighters ever.
Number 3, I'm going with the UFC 178 promo with Daniel Cormier. Now, we can talk about the Daniel Cormier rivalry. It's probably his biggest rivalry of his career.
You still there, pussy?
Yeah, but this promo is unbelievable. That firstly, they punch on, they fight, they get into a big push and shove on the stage, pushing down the signs. You know, Dana said it was disgusting, but guess what? It sold fights. And then they go on a call together. They're doing an interview, and then we see the behind the scenes of the interview. When the interview's off there, Daniel Cormier says, "Listen, if you spat in my face, I would literally kill you." And he meant that with all his heart. And Jon Jones, I think, showed that he could be a troll and wasn't the Jon Jones that you saw on camera. This, you know, nice guy, ultimate professional. He was a guy that could trash talk, get under your skin, and he did it to perfection. And you know, his rivalry with Daniel Cormier is one of the best in UFC history.
Well, to this day, Daniel Cormier, as a UFC commentator, whether it was on ESPN, no matter what he says, people are going to bring up this clip. That's how iconic it is, and that's how iconic this rivalry was, because no matter what Daniel Cormier does, he can never escape Jon Jones. That's it. Like, they're always going to bring it up, and this clip of him calling him a pussy or saying that he would literally kill him, it's never always, the memes that have come from it, it's just never going to be forgotten.
And that's why I'm going to go number 2 is the DC head kick. Okay, because this fight was supposed to happen almost 3 times, and it was a staple rivalry to the UFC. Honestly, this rivalry was one of the reasons I actually began to become a fan of the UFC. Apart from Brock Lesnar jumping over, I was one of those casuals that just jumped on this Jon Jones versus DC rivalry, and it culminated into obviously him getting done for steroids, and DC going back and forth. DC becoming a light heavyweight champion. And Jon Jones coming back and proving why he is the best, breaking down DC, finding a chink in his armor, finding the flaw, and setting it up with that head kick. I think it's one of the better knockouts from Jon Jones, and showed, again, why he was great. And DC had to give it up for him as the best.
Well, not that this is an official loss on DC's career, but Daniel Cormier hasn't lost many times in his career. And to lose in that fashion, getting TKO'd by Jon Jones, the way Jon Jones set it up, he was teasing him the whole fight, then finally landed the head kick straight flush on his head, then went in for the kill. To knock out Daniel Cormier, you are one of the greatest fighters ever. So Jon Jones earns his flowers there.
And number 1, I'm going with Jon Jones dominating Shogun Rua at 23 years old, becoming the youngest UFC champion. This guy just decimated like a Pride legend with, you know, again, another surgical performance. And doing it at that age, this is a time where I think Jon Jones was like sponsored by Nike, and he was putting it on for the UFC. He was a professional athlete at 23 years old, and I think it's just the epitome of showcasing what he was going to achieve in the UFC.
Again, a surprising one, because he was the youngest fighter ever to win a UFC champion. And it's not like he just won it close or he won it by split decision or, you know, it was a questionable fight. Yeah. He dominated him. He absolutely killed him. If you go back and watch that fight, he looked like he was levels above him. He looked like he was the more experienced fighter in there. And that did start the whole Jon Jones career, because from that point on...
It was like a change of the guard. It ushered in like this new era of fighters.
And then I'm saying from that point on, it just showed you he was never going to lose, because everyone that he versed from then on, they just never stood a chance against Jon Jones. He was that good and just levels above his competition.
Hey, what a career. I personally think we're going to be seeing him back probably December or after after Tom Aspinall's defense.
If he comes out of retirement and beats Tom Aspinall, that's automatic number 1.
It's a wrap.
So I'm going to say it's an honourable mention, because it's going to happen.
Okay, let's get into the predictions of UFC 317. Here, International Fight Week in Las Vegas, starting with the main event. I want to start with the main event. It is Charles versus Ilia. Nick, how do you see the fight going?
Again, we've spoken about it multiple times, and the more I look into it, the more I just think Ilia Topuria is going to win, because I back his confidence, I back his fight style.
You can't keep doubting him.
And if you do look at Charles Oliveira's last 3 fights, basically, he lost to Arman Tsarukyan. He barely beat Michael Chandler. I mean, he dominated him, but like he nearly got caught there in the 5th. And then I think the fight before that was against Islam. So he hasn't been the most active fighter, and he's lost 2 out of his last 3 fights. So really, is he that confident coming in?
Yeah.
And if you do look at fighters as they get older, they usually slow down. Ilia Topuria, he's the younger fighter, the more hungry fighter. I got to go with Ilia. And I'm going to get him to take the KO as well. I'm going KO.
Anything can happen on any given day, but like you said, I don't think anyone can doubt Ilia Topuria anymore. There's a reason why he is a very short price favourite. I'm going with Ilia Topuria with a knockout as well. I don't think he's going to get it done in the first. I do think he'll knock him out probably in the second or third.
Well, if you looked at the footage that came out recently of his fight against Max Holloway, waited till round 3, the start of round 3.
And you hear his brother.
Hey, attack now.
So time to go.
These guys are smart. They're calculated. They've got a good strategy going into the fight. They might be trying to do the same thing. I think they said the same thing against Volk. They take the first 2 rounds to kind of feel their opponent out, see how they're going to react to certain things, pick their opportunities, then try and knock him out. But I just think the betting doesn't make sense. Like, if Ilia Topuria is $1.20, like, Charles Oliveira's a bum. That's how the betting's called. They're calling Charles Oliveira a bum.
They're putting him too short.
Like, I feel like $1.60 should be what Ilia's price is. I've got no problem with him being favourite, but not that heavy of a favourite.
Yeah, okay, let's go to the co-main event, the flyweight championship fight. Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Kara France. A rematch 10 years in the making. Look, I want to back our Anzac brother, Kai Kara France. I do. I want him to finish off his fairy tale story, bring a championship back to New Zealand. It'll be great for the region. We've got Jack Della, we've got Volk. Now we could have Kai Kara. It would be great.
3 would be great.
3 would be great. But Alexandre Pantoja deserves a lot more respect. He should be pound for pound at least in the top 6 right now. He's floating at around number 9 or 7.
I think it's 9.
So this guy is a freak, and he's only got better since they last fought 10 years ago. He dismantled Kai Asakura, right? He's gone up against another Kai. People are calling for him to go up and face, Merab right now. I think as great as Kai Kara France has been, knocking out Steve Erceg and really going on a really great undefeated streak in the last however many fights, I just don't think he's going to be enough to beat Alexandre Pantoja.
Again, and the pricing of the betting kind of tells the story here. Pantoja's a heavy favourite. I think he's like $1.40, $1.38. So the bookies think that he's a special here because if you look at the work he's done in the division, he's beaten basically the whole top 10. And I know the Kai Kara France fight, it was on like an Ultimate Fighter. It wasn't really a UFC fight. But still, he beats his opponents. He's basically dismantled the whole division. And I don't think he wants to go up. I think he's happy to be the king of the division and keep rematching all these fighters. But if you saw what he did to Kai Sakura, like, what more can Kai Kara France present? I feel like Kai Kara France is a more dangerous fighter overall.
I think it's going to be clinical. I think Pantoja's going to be, he's going to maul him, he's going to wrestle him.
The way Pantoja fights, again, it's just a bad matchup for Kai Kara France. Yeah. And I just think Pantoja's going to win as well. I'm staying away. I'm not betting on that fight. I'm staying away.
Yeah, out of respect for Kai, I'm not going to touch it. But no, I probably will. I will. Okay, now, Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van. Now, I think Brandon Royval is an outsider. He's an underdog here at $2.
Slightly.
It's very slight.
It's about even.
Which makes me want to take Brandon Royval. He's proven himself time and time again. Had great showings against Pantoja and was also called for another title shot after winning on recent fight nights, right? So he's had some opponent changes here and there leading up to this fight. I think he's going to show out, really want to make a statement here in International Fight Week and then call out Pantoja for another rematch.
Well, the thing is, every single time for me personally, a fighter gets brought in on short notice, usually that fighter loses.
Like, it is because he was probably preparing for Manel Cap.
No, but I'm saying like Joshua Van wasn't in fight camp. He wasn't preparing to fight this early. So I feel like Royval's the more prepared fighter. His body's more ready for the fight. Understandably that, Manel Cap and Joshua Van aren't the same fighter. But I just feel like Brandon Royval will be more ready. Probably a better resume as well. So I think Royval will squeeze out a victory. And if you guys are smart, really, these guys weigh 50 kilos. There's no punching power here. This fight's going to decision.
Take it straight to decision.
If you want to sound smart to your friends, want to sound smart to your mates, hey, this fight's going to decision, boy.
Yeah, look at the finish rates of both of them. Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Put your house on the decision here.
Okay, Beneil Dariush versus Manny Moicano.
I'm going Renato Moicano because he needs to win. Okay, he's come out and he said, look, the last fight, my purse was guaranteed. This fight, my purse isn't guaranteed.
He gives a fuck.
I give a fuck. I need the bonus. So when you've got a motivated Renato Moicano, how could you bet against him? Seriously, how could you bet against him?
And if you're looking at Dariush, this is now that Usman has fought, he is now the only fighter in the UFC that's been out the longest. It's over 540 days that he hasn't fought in a UFC fight. So that is crazy to me. And at his age, yes, there's Kamaru Usman that can turn it on after a year and a half outside the octagon, right? But when you're going up against a hungry Moicano,
with that long outside the octagon, I got to go with Moicano. He's the favourite for a reason. I think he's going to utilise everything in the toolbox that he did against Benoit Saint Denis, that he had previously. Look, his last fight, you can't even look at that. He's gone up against Islam and he got toyed with pretty easily, right? It was on very short notice.
Very short notice.
I think he's at a camp. He's ready for Beneil Dariush. This was the fight he's supposed to have in January, right? So he's been well prepared. They both will be, but I'm going with Moicano.
The thing is with Dariush, the last 2 fights he's had were brutal knockouts. Now, look, if you go back to Volkanovski, people were talking about how he might not be able to come back because he got knocked out by Islam, then he got knocked out by Topuria. Dariush's knockouts were much, much worse. And you got to act in the fact that he's older and not a former champion.
But he's had a lot of time off.
But I'm saying he's not a former champion, so it's like, what's he really coming back for? Like, Volk was coming back because he knew there was a title in the hunt and he could still go for that title. Dariush is just coming back for pride, maybe, but it's just like, I feel like he's one of those legends who's on a contract that just needs to run out. He's just fighting for his contract to run out. This might be his last fight in the UFC, and I just don't think he can get the win.
I mean, the UFC looked after him, paid him for just showing up when Moicano had to face Islam.
People have said he's the nicest guy in the UFC, and I believe that, but I just don't think he can win this weekend.
I'm looking forward to interviewing him. That's one I want to tick that one off. UFC 317, these are our best multis, starting with?
I'm going with Brandon Royval by decision. I said it before, guys. These guys weigh 50 kilos. They're going to decision 1,000%. I'm taking that into Renato Moicano, head-to-head. Not by knockout, not by decision. It's a 3-round fight, but I just think Moicano would be too good. If I was smart, I'd maybe take the KO, but I'm being safe. I'm going head-to-head, and I'm taking that into the final leg. Ilia Topuria by KO. He's too short to take head-to-head. I don't think it'll go decision. Charles does get caught, so I'm going Ilia with the KO. He's getting the finish.
I'm going to stick to those fights as well. I don't want to touch Peyton Talbot because, you know, he got fraud check last time and, you know, I
backed him when he was $1.08. I'm not doing it again.
I'm not getting on a fighter that paints his nails ever again. You know what I mean?
Don't do it.
Okay, so I'm taking Brendan Royval to win at $2 head-to-head. Then I'm going Renato Moicano, Money Moicano to show out and win by decision.
Yeah, okay.
I got Moicano decision. Alexandre Pantoja to win head-to-head. I'm not going to take him to win by submission or a knockout. I don't think
fair. 50 kilos.
I like the value in it. It's about $1.30, $1.40. And I'm going Ilia Topuria to win via knockout again. He's putting Charles Oliveira's head in his retirement village with the likes of Volk, with the likes of Max Holloway. I think it's a KO from Ilia Topuria. So there you have it. I'm going Ilia Topuria KO, Royval, Pantoja, and Moicano.
You have to pick the round. What round you going? I'm saying round
3
3 KO.
No, it's round 2 KO.
I'm going round 3 KO. I feel like it's going to be the exact same as Holloway. He's going to feel him out, try and see where the weaknesses are, and then round 3 he's going to press, he's going to attack, go forward and knock him out.
Now, let's move over to boxing, because this week we will get the chance to interview Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. It's going to be great to see them. They're promoting their fight, first fight promoted by Dana White in alliance with Turki Al-Sheikh here in Las Vegas. It's going to be at Allegiant Stadium. But the trash talk has been great from Canelo Alvarez. I mean, Crawford's really trying to find his own. They had a bit of a mic'd up moment where he says, I want you to hear it. Those belts are coming home with me. Then they did that podcast. They had Dana White sitting down with Turkey. Tom Brady, I think, was there as well with Canelo and Crawford. Crawford says, Canelo says to him, who have you faced? Who is your resume? Crawford names a boxer and he goes, sorry, who? Who is it? I don't know. I think there are levels into this game, and you can't discount that Crawford is a great fighter. But Canelo has fought anyone and everyone, including Floyd Mayweather, Berlanga, Munguia, like these guys, world-class level fighters. Bivol, exactly right, who he's taken a loss to. He says, who have you really fought? So I don't think he's worried in the slightest about the punching power of Terence Crawford or, you know, what he's going to be able to do to him in the ring. And he says, you know, I want it to be a smaller ring. I don't want you to run from me, Terence Crawford. I'm going to bring it to you. So Canelo Alvarez has been bringing the trash talk and the excitement to this fight.
Call me a casual, but seeing Dana White as part of this promotion, it does escalate it. Like it does make it that more important, because like you take a look at the screen, you see Dana White on there, you see Canelo, you see Crawford, you're like, hey, this is big, this is happening. And then you go to what they did to Pierce Morgan. I found that hilarious. The way they both said, I will kill you with one punch. 10 seconds with all I need, one punch, you're dead. Like they're doing the rounds, they're doing the right media.
Yeah.
Again, both professionals, and I feel like they're going to sell this fight pretty well.
Can I ask you, what are your thoughts on Max Kellerman making his return to boxing and being
I didn't know this.
One of the official broadcasters for Canelo versus Crawford?
I didn't know this. Is Stephen A going to be involved?
No, I don't think so. It hasn't been announced, but he was there at the Fanatics Fest and he said, you know, these are the last two, greats in their division that we're going to be seeing go up against the two pound for pounds go at it. We're not going to see fights like this ever again. And he's ecstatic to be a part of it, but we haven't seen Max Kellerman since First Take. And he's been on kind of a blacklist since him and Stephen A were on First Take. I think it's good to see him back. He's got a great boxing IQ. He's not going to go out there and say, I want the last shot to be Andre Iguodala. And he's not going to have any bad takes when it comes to boxing. So I think it's great to see Max Kellerman back.
Nah, I feel like, I know no one says this, but he does have a head for boxing. He has a voice for boxing.
Yeah,
it makes sense that he goes back to boxing because he does have a plethora of knowledge in the boxing industry. And I didn't know he was coming back. I think it'll be funny to see. Hopefully he doesn't say anything stupid like Iguodala, but that's Max Kellerman, so he can.
Hey, that's all we have time for here at Fight Week. Make sure you stay tuned to our socials at Jon-Bernard K on Instagram and TikTok and at KRuzBros on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. We got a jam-packed week. We got interviews lined up tomorrow and the day after with pretty much the whole main card. Then we're going to be chatting to the fighting nerds. We're going to go to the UFC Fan Expo, the Fight Week Fan Expo. Going to be testing out some material there. And then we'll be talking to you, the fans, with Ned. So make sure you stay tuned. And make sure if you're gambling, we gave you our best multis. Gamble responsibly, but make sure you're doing it with Neds. And that's all we have time for. Thank you. And back to you in the studio, Ryan.